Steelhorse here. Today's tutorial is a look at a pretty simple but really useful mod called Follow Me. And I have to say there are lots of ways to use this. I'm going to run through 5 that spring immediately to mind. One of the great things about Follow Me is there's only a few commands, there's no menus, so if Courseplay and Auto Drive tend to kind of feel a bit complicated to you, Follow Me might be a really good step towards better automation, because it helps the AI behave a little more predictably and like you. And in fact, it's kind of like the farm sim version of Follow the Leader. So, you know, you can get what you do replicated by the AI. So to start out, the first thing we're going to do is move bunch of equipment that we've got here. So you can see we've got 4 tractors with various implements, and we want to move those to the field where we're going to work. So we'll turn an engine on, but specifically what we're going to do is get into the following tractors, and as long as the engine is going and I'm in the tractor here, I can use my right control key and the F. So hold right control and press F, and it'll recognize that I'm behind a tractor, and you can see now it's hired a worker, and there's a message down the bottom that sort of shows a bit of an arrow and a 25. So what I've told it I want to do is I want it to drive 25 meters behind the tractor that we selected as the leader. So I can jump out now. He's going to wait there because he can't get to that position properly without a collision. Now I can do the same thing in this tractor. I'll start the engine, I'll hold my right control key and the F, and it's going to try and follow Langine. If I select, I've got to turn it off because I have waited too long. So H to turn off the AI, just like normal. But if I press it twice, or in fact multiple times, I can scroll through until I get the tractor that I want it to find. But in this case, I want it to travel further behind. So I'm going to hold down my right control key and press S and say, no, I want you to be 35 meters behind. All right, so I've got my leader set up. Let's get the 4th one sorted. So I get on the tractor again. As you can see, it makes no difference to the type of tractor or what we're towing. I'm going to hit my right control key and I'm going to hit F until I get the line connected, and see it, for some reason it won't select the tractor that I want. So what I did was hit H. We've got a few too many tractors in the yard here, and sometimes its detection zone is a little different to what we might expect. I don't know why. Oh, did I get it? There we go. So that's the one I want to follow, the T6, and I want right control, and I want to increase my spacing to 50. So right control and S. If I wanted to move it closer, right control and W will reduce the spacing. But for the moment, until we get organized, we've now got our chain. We've got workers in each tractor, and they're set up, I think, in the right way. So now I can go ahead and jump in my lead tractor and head on out of the line, out of the yard, keeping a wide angle. And why do we have an issue? So for some reason my second tractor hasn't commenced. Suspect. And go again. you'll see the tractors behind are moving. So let's get up to the position we want. Control and F. Sometimes you have to press the F key a couple of times to get the tractor that you want. I might move him a fraction closer, so that's right control and W to bring the distance into 15 meters. But you can see that the other tractors, well, 2 out of the 3 anyway, have moved up into line. Let's see here. So we've gotten going, and we've got 4 tractors that have moved out of the yard and that are following me down the road. Now they're taking the exact course that I'm taking. If I don't like their spacing, while I'm sitting in the tractor and looking back at them, I can hold the right control key with the right shift key, and now I can hit F and work my way through each of those 3. And I could, for instance, bring the distance of the New Holland immediately behind me up a little bit closer. And then I could hit I'm still holding down my right control and right shift. I can hit F to go to the next tractor. So 35 meters is a bit far for this convoy. Let's bring that down to 25. And I could, again, still holding my right control and right shift, hit the F key until I get the John Deere at the back. 55 meters is a long way back. Let's bring you up to 40. Now you'll see there's mention to an offset. We'll get to that later. All that is talking about is the ability to put the convoy, instead of being directly behind me, out in a line. Now as we're driving along with the convoy, the acceleration of the various tractors and the implements that they're towing makes a difference. There is a lag, so they'll aim to end up at that spacing, but they won't necessarily maintain the spacing the way we like. And I suspect, for instance, that I've got the cruise control set in that 3rd tractor. So if we just stop here and pause, I can get out and go back to the 3rd tractor, and I think I'll find that I've got cruise control set. It's the only reason I can think for why this AOA would be traveling so slowly, and it is. So if I get in and bump that up. So one of the things you observe is that cruise control will affect the speed at which these tractors follow you. And that can be useful to know on a field where you're working, for instance, with different equipment. Now, if we're turning, we've got to keep in mind the characteristics of all of the vehicles in the chain, because they've all got to make the corner. There's 2 out of the 3 round. But as you can see, we can take all sorts of courses to get to where we want to go. So that's the first step. Now, when we get to the field, like this one over here in front of us, we can pull onto the field. And in this particular case, one of the things that we might want to do is get multiple jobs done using our convoy. So you might have noticed that we've got 4 vehicles in our convoy. There's no work for the baler on this field, so I can jump out and go down to the baler and just hit the H key to cancel the worker, and we'll take the baler across because we're going to use this one a bit later on. Now that we've got our convoy to the field, there's a myriad of ways you could use this, and I've just picked some examples to illustrate the concept. It really does depend how you want to work your fields and what use you would put to this. But let's just imagine, for the purpose of the exercise, I've got a field here that's just got the straw and stubble on it. So the process I want to go through is I want to mulch, so I've put a mulcher on the front. I want to cultivate, I want to put some seed in, and I want to roll. Well, I can achieve all of that with Follow Me. So if we get into our last tractor, the first thing we want to do is cancel our worker for a second. And so we hit the H key. We want to put the implement down, because under Follow Me, unlike Horseplay, it doesn't know anything about the implement or what to do with it. So you have to set all of that up first. Right, so I've got my roller lowered, I'm ready to go. And now I can reactivate Follow Me. So I'm going to hit the control key, right control, hold down, and F, and work through until I find the vehicle, which is the one at the front that I want to follow. Okay. And then I go into the next vehicle and I do exactly the same thing. H to cancel, B to put my seeder down. I need to check what crop I want to sow in here. I've got seasons turned off for the purpose of the exercise, so we'll go with the wheat, that's fine, and turn my seeder on. Right, so our seeder's running, and right control and F again. Now I want that to light up and pick me up, which I think it has not. You can tell when it connects. Sometimes you've got to hold the that's it, until you get the large print connection, and I'm holding down the right control key until it makes that connection and I get that worker in the cab. Now I can get out and get in my front vehicle, and now I'm just going to work ahead and put my cultivator down. I'm going to put my mulcher down, and I'm going to head off around the field. And what you'll see is now my 3 stages, because it's following directly behind and I've picked pieces of equipment that are the same size. We'll go up to the corner here, but I'm driving one pass of the field. So I've got a cultivated state here. I've now got a seeded wheat state. And now I'm rolling. Why am I not rolling? My roller doesn't work on this field. Oh, yes it does. Sorry, I've got to get further back. So I've now got a rolled state. And it really is that simple. Those workers are going to stay there. Yes, they're going to cost me money while I'm standing around here gas bagging. But if we head around, we can do our headlands, and really the only constraint, I guess, is you need to travel in a continuous forward direction. So the one downside of Follow Me is it doesn't handle backwards. And so in thinking about how to approach your field, you need to keep going forwards. Now I think in this circumstance, the ability to use multiple pieces of equipment and only drive as a player the field once is a real benefit in many situations. And there are lots of fields that you can set up to operate this way, and you can see we progress pretty well. So that's different implements all working the same field. Well, you might say, jump out of there. You must remember to turn your worker off, or else your worker's going to sit there consuming cash all day. So they won't, while they're in follow me mode, they will just sit there with the engine running if you don't take action. So jumping in the cab to the H key is the way to deal with that. So we've seen what they can do with different different implements, but all of the same size. What if, as often is the case, particularly as your farm grows, you start out with a 3-meter cultivator and then you get a 4 maybe, or you buy something at the second-hand sale and you get a 5? Well, you can set up 3 different sized pieces of equipment to do the same thing. So let's drive down onto our field and just get broadly set up here. So in this particular case, we're going to just cultivate the field. So this will be my lead tractor, and I'm going to run him on the left-hand side. Now I'm going to set up using an offset. So when I jump into this tractor and move forward just a little bit so I can see through the tree, I know that I'm working off the center lines of my tractors. So the first tractor, the edge of its cultivated strip is going to be 1.5 meters off his center line. This tractor is going to be 1.5 meters across, and then my center line is another 2 meters, because this is 4 meter tractor, so a 4 meter cultivator. So 2 plus 1.5 means I need to offset the center of this piece of equipment by 3.5 meters. So when I sit Control and F, I'm going to select my tractor. So I hit F twice to get it enlarged. I've got my distance at 25 meters behind. If I now hold the right control and hit the D key, I can move out to the right, and you'll see the arrow down the bottom of the screen, to 3.5 meters. So now as I move forward, this second tractor is going to be offset. So I've got my worker in the cab, I can jump out. Let's go back to the third one. So now, with this guy, the first one is got to be 1.5 meters offset from the center. Then I have to add the full width of the second tractor. So 4 plus 1.5 is 5.5, and half of this implement, which is a 5 meter cultivator. So 4.5 and 5.5 and 2.5 is 7. Sorry, 5.5 and 2.5 is 8. Let's try getting the maths right. So if I now go to my front fence, which is the one I want to follow, but I want him to be back, let's say 45 meters, and off to the right. I can set it up initially. Let's just say I got my maths wrong and made it 7. Okay, so he's now 45 meters back and 7 meters out. So let's go and get in the front tractor. One more step I forgot. I need to put my implements down. So H to stop, B to put my implement down, and then right control and F, and you can see it's picked up the wrong one. So I want H to stop, follow the fence. You can see it's retained or remembered the offset. So H to stop, right control, hold F. So now put this implement down, And let's move on. We've got a headland, but let's just run and see what we've got here. So we'll keep working around. We've lost our rear worker by the looks. So let's have a look here. And I didn't put that tool down properly. Now, one of the things you'll see in this situation is it only looks in front of me for somebody to follow. So if I need to reset it as I did here, I have to put the tool down and get to position where I can hold my right control and it will set. So that's fine. Now I need to find out why this guy stopped following. And we lost our worker by the looks. Let's go down onto the fields. So I won't put him right in the correct position. We'll just put him where the tractor we want to follow is in that forward cone. Okay, so I'm sort of pointing at the tractor I want to follow. I'm going to right control F. I don't want the Massey, I want the Fent. So that was press F for the second time. And check my measurements, 45 meters back, 7 across, that's correct. Or at least that's what I want for the minute. So I've got a worker still in those. So now when we drive forward with any luck, everything should work correctly. Okay. So now they're going to pick up that correct offset. You can see the second one is following the edge and filling in just as I would expect. A bit far back to see what's going on, so if I hold right control and right shift, I can, and then use the S key, the W key. Let's try that again. If I hold right control and right shift and F, I can select the tractor I want. I can see what the current settings are, and if I then use W, I can reduce that to bring it into 15 and the offset that I want. If I, still holding my right shift and right control, hit F again, I can get the Fent at the back, and I want to bring him in to say 35. So select the W key to bring him in, and I've not got that offset right. I can see that now, and it needs to be 8. So hit the F to bring it up, and then the D to twice to increase that offset to 8. So now when I go around the corner, I should have all my tractors. And we'll see as I'll just pick a line down here, but you get the idea. Following me around the field, staying to my right, and fixing and using the maximum width of all my implements. So now I'm going to power through this field in no time, and the only thing I need to remember is I must keep going in a forward direction. And I need to keep the edge I'm working on my left, because I've got 2 tractors, 2 wingmen, so to speak, out to the right. So as long as I keep that lined up on the left and I think about how to work my field, so what I find works particularly well is to do a headland, because even on most fields that then gives me plenty of turning room to be able to keep going forwards, and then use a sort of a racetrack pattern. So that's where I go down, I turn 90 degrees, go part the way across and do a cut through the field, and so as a series of loops You'll see it work here in a second. Working across the field. So what I'm doing somewhat manually is an option that's available and automated in Courseplay. But as you can see, it's much easier to set up. Now I could turn in my headland there if I wanted, or I can just turn down the field here. But we're carving a really big chunk out of the work, getting all 3 tractors working, and I'm only driving it once. I can control the speed. If I've got a big tractor that's pulling a faster piece of equipment, I can use cruise control to slow it down. So there we go. All right, and there's my racetrack loop. So I continue on up here. And I'm making use of all the equipment on my farm. Terrific. Now we can use the same activity for grasswork. Across here at our grass field, we've got everything pretty much lined up. And so we're good to go. Same process as before. So we'll jump in the front tractor. We'll turn the engine on so that we're ready. In the next one in line, we're going to make sure our implement is down. We're going to turn the engine on. B to start our implement. Now back to right control F and connect. That's all good to go. Next is our swather. Process repeats. So we want to make sure it's lowered, turn it on. There we go, turned on. Look at what we want to connect to. Right control F. We want to follow the front Voltra, which is the 225. And we want to increase our distance to about 30 meters. I think we'll be fine. And then with our last one, make sure our pickup is down, start the baler. Again, we can move forward a fraction, right control, and we want the 225 at the front. And we want our spacing, it's defaulted to 55, so we might just bring him in to 45. So we're all in a line, we're all set and ready to go. As you can see, very easy. And we put our mowers down. Turn them on. And we start to mow. And there we go, there's our little convoy heading off. Now, one of the things that we've got to keep in mind with baling, it was true with all activities, but the convoy is going to move at the speed of the lowest implement. And in this particular case, the baler is going to be the slowest because, as you can see, it'll stop. The AI worker is clever enough to stop to discharge the bale. So if you're not careful, if you trundle along too quickly, you'll very quickly outrun the baler. So what I tend to do is set the cruise control to be just a couple of kilometers an hour slower than the baler, and that just gives the baler a chance to keep up. It's you can see the tedder and the swather don't have too much difficulty at all, but the baler having to stop and start all the time will be a little bit slow, and the limit for Follow Me seems to be somewhere around about 200 to 250 meters. Once a vehicle gets sort of to that distance behind it, forgets the path. That's the easiest way to think about it, and it will just stop, and the AI worker will leave. So the way to avoid that is just to slow down your convoy using cruise control to find a working maximum. Or if you did want to run 4 because you found it a bit challenging or complicated to keep them all working, perhaps on a smaller field, then you just split it into a couple of pieces. So that's the essence of how mowing works. Right? And if I jump out here, you can see it's all fine. We could be wrapping, of course, if we weren't tedding, but we're just producing bales as we go. So you can see one all the way up there in the distance. But this guy is going to continue on now, even though I've stopped, and catch up with the rest. So discharging his bale as he goes. So that's it. Really is as simple as that. If you wanted a more complicated configuration with perhaps a couple of mowers into larger tedder or swather, then you could use offsets. It really is only limited by your imagination. But as I might have mentioned before, we need to remember when we stop to dismiss the AI workers. They will sit there. You can see that they're still active if you look in the mini map on the left, or you go up to this view, you can see that you've got a worker, and it's easy to come down and enter the vehicle and then cancel the worker. So that's all there is to it from the grass side of things. Now there's then one more activity that I wanted to. So if we come back to our wheat field over here, it's ready to harvest. And the first thing I'll say is Follow Me is not a substitute for course play. However, there are times I've found where I don't want to use course play, but I do want to make my harvest more efficient. And in particular, one of the things, or a couple of the things that I kind of look at is, often in my early days on a farm, I've got a small harvester, and I can get access to a big trailer, but I find I'm always emptying the harvester, which means I spend all my time carting and driving, and not much time in the harvester. Well, Follow Me has a solution for that. So if we jump in our harvester, make sure we're unfolded and turned on, and so the engine's running. That's good. We're going to throw a straw swath, so I thought, why not? Let's just grab a little baler, make sure our engine's running here. We can set you to run, if we put the baler down and on, we can use Follow Me to do the straw baling while we harvest. So just the same process we used before. Shift control. You'll see it's remembered 40. That was the distance I last had this tractor behind the baler, and 40 is sort of a good distance to keep it out of the action from the truck. So it's going to run along. The baler, of course, is much faster than the harvester, so it won't have any trouble maintaining that distance like it did the last time. Now the tricky part here is the truck. You want to keep the truck and its load out of the way of the harvester, or the trailer and its load out of the way of the harvester, but still be able to unload. Now in this particular case, I happen to have done a little bit of experimenting, and I know that the fill arm for my harvester extends about 8 meters from the center line, and the only way to deal with this is a little bit of trial and error. And so in this case, if we get in and start our trailer, we still want to use follow me like before, but we want to put it in a different position. So it can't position there. We need it to be out to the left hand side 8 meters, and it needs to, because follow me is working off the tractor, so holding our right control and W, we need to move it forward so that the tractor's actually in front of the harvester. And that potentially, that 10 meter distance will be about the right, and we can see when we get going, but that's the position. So it's follow me, but with using the offset to actually put a vehicle in front and to the side. So now when I get in my harvester, I haven't got my file here because of the collision that it detected, so I want to work off the 560. That's what I want to follow. So he's all set. So now if I put down my, be careful of the arm and the slope here, but if I get going on my field, I still want to cut a headland first. But now the tractor and trailer is going to follow me along. And you might decide that you want to cut the headland and not have it creeping along beside you, but as you'll see in a minute, rather than the way it works with horseplay, because it's follow me, it's going to attempt to follow us all the way along, and that means when it loses, I pick up grain still in the harvester, but it'll catch back up when the truck gets back in position, like when we do the corner here. Now same rules apply as before. I need to keep moving in a forward direction. It doesn't handle a left-hand turn, and as you can see, gladly we don't own the field next door. I don't quite fit on the field separation, so in this particular case I would probably do the headland first and then hook up my truck, but it quite happily catches back up and resumes the unload. And you can see in the background there, my helper is busily managing the straw, so I've managed to get everything set up exactly the way I want it. Now if I got to this position, I thought, you know, that's actually not exactly where I want it. I can stop and everyone else will stop. I can hold my right control and right shift and then use F to select the vehicle I want to adjust. And I said, well, maybe -5 would be fine. So S reduces that offset. Similarly, I can press F again to get to the rear one. So actually that's a bit far behind. Let's bring them forward. Let's bring that up to 25. That seems to be fine. So now I've changed the offsets for the vehicles. You can see -5. Now I tend to, it's just not quite in the right spot to unload. which was why I went for -10. It's just a fraction too far back. So we'll stop again, right control, right shift, F. And we'll just increase that to -10. It's not that the position -5 is wrong necessarily. It's that when we're actually moving, it can't maintain that position, which you saw when it stopped, it adjusted. But that's how we can use Follow Me to help with the harvest. Now, the other thing that's quite potentially useful, so you'll see stopped on the corner, is I could do my headland like so, and then I could say, well, I don't want my trailer driving over the crop, and I want to do my cut-ins. I could jump out at this point, get in the tractor and pause my worker, get back in, and say, well, I can do an up and back here. So we'll, in effect, create our land and our cut through. Haven't affected the straw baling that's going on beside. But now if when I get back to the other end, I'm going to be closer to full, but I'll also have some space in the crop here to work. I can turn it back on and it will happily unload me while we're driving down the next row. And you might find that that's more realistic or more suits how you want to operate. Similarly, you could have filled the trailer and now use a standard AI worker to take it to the unload point while you continue. So there's lots of options, and as I said at the outset, the way you use it is just limited really by your imagination, but I find it particularly easy. And whilst you can chain lots of vehicles together, the most productive use on a smaller farm is often just keep it relatively simple and just have a couple. So I hope you found that interesting and useful today, and perhaps give Follow Me a go in your own farm for your own experiments. Thanks for watching. See ya.